It's been a while.
Let me know when you're ready.
We are live.
Okay. Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. We are back in your ear holes after a nice little break. Tyler, we usually record, or we have recorded pretty much every week year round in years past. And I got to say, this downtime that we've had in the NFL, we've taken the last month or so off. And I can't lie, it felt pretty good.
Yeah, it was nice to kind of relax a little bit. And I mean, we talked about it when it was just you and me. And I mean, it was dead. It was a dead offseason. There was a couple signings, but it was nice to just think about family. And I think this is going to be a common occurrence to kind of give us a break. We're usually, every week or bi-weekly in season. And then when the draft comes up, we're every week. So, yeah. So, I mean, usually in the past, we've been every week. But I think we're at the point now where, us old asses deserve a break, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the summer's been pretty busy for both of us thus far. I was on a cruise for my 20th anniversary in Spain and France with no kids, and that was amazing. I know you went away with the family, and you were like, I need a vacation from my vacation,
Yes.
because that's how it is. Especially when you have 3 kids. I only have 2. I can't imagine with a third. But yeah, it's been good. I've been to some concerts. I've been out to, the zoo a couple of times. Just been vibing, man. It's been good. Lots of pool days. Pool Doug is in full effect. I've got a nice tan going on. So zero complaints to a warm summer. I know it's been hot out there too. We were almost, real feel was 95 today and 99 yesterday. Yikes. Went to Dave & Buster's today with the boys, and that was a lot of fun. So
Dave & Buster's, the adult Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, I mean, it's half off games on Wednesday and half off food right now if you're a member. So I spent a total of $50 and got me and the boys lunch and played games for 2 hours.
I mean, that's a heck of a deal, everyone. Heck of a deal.
If you want to know how to pinch pennies, slide into my DMs. I'll tell you. All right, so today we are going to talk the AFC, and with training camp literally right around the corner, we've got a Hard Knocks on right now, which is an off season. That's getting me amped up to watch the New York Giants, the draft process and the combine. So that's starting to get my juices flowing, if you will. And we're going to have training camp here really, really soon. So let's talk some camp battles, and we're going to talk the AFC. Tyler says my gain sounds off a bit. So let me look at that here in a second. Tyler, what were some of the notable transactions that we had while we've been on break?
Easily it's Justin Jefferson getting paid. He got paid like Justin Jefferson expected to. And it's kind of funny because that the receiver thing on Netflix came out, and it's been about Jefferson and his contract and how he hasn't had a contract. So that's been kind of fun to watch. And I'd have to say Ayuk. The Ayuk back and forth has been interesting. It's been, I don't know what to think of it. I just think San Francisco, we've seen what they do. They kind of just hold their ground. They're always like, hey, you're going to play for us. Like, we've got your contract. You're going to play for us this way, or you're not going to play. And usually when you don't play, it doesn't work out. So I mean, that's pretty much it. Am I missing anything? Ramondre got a paycheck.
Ramondre is the 7th highest paid running back in the league. He was a guy that I traded with you for Ramondre. I gave you a couple late seconds for Ramondre and a team that needed some running back help. I feel good about that. I felt good about it then. I feel better about it now because he's got some long-term stability there. There is a steady drumbeat coming out of New England here on the local radio that the Patriots have inquired multiple times to the San Francisco 49ers about Brandon Ayuk. The Patriots have, I think, $44 million in cap room. They could take on a Brandon Ayuk contract. They'd probably send a receiver going back the other way because they have a glut of receivers. We don't know who's going to be what in that offense. I know Jalen Polk is getting a lot of hype as wide receiver 1, quotation fingers.
Yeah.
But I would love to see a guy like Brandon Ayuk come to New England. That would be amazing. I know Matt Harmon's reception perception came out on Ayuk, and it was immaculate. Very
he's
very
a
big
great
jump.
player. Yeah.
From year 3 to 4, was it 3 to 4? Yeah, 3 to 4. For Ayuk, great jump in his percentages, and he is looking like an elite route runner. So yeah, Ayuk wants to get paid like some of these Jalen Waddle contracts and stuff like that, and he'll get it from somebody. Just like T. Higgins next year in free agents. So someone's going to pay him $25+ million a year, and it is what it is. So
I mean, Patriots seem like the logical choice to trade for him, and I mean, if San Francisco thinks New England is going to be any good, would they give up him for a second rounder? Maybe. That's probably the price.
It'll be a top of the second round pick because the Patriots are currently projected to have the
Yeah.
worst record in the NFL.
Yeah, and I mean, Patriots are going to have to pay him 28, 30 mil a year. So, I mean, it's going to be a good chunk of change. He probably wants lower than Jefferson, probably around AJ Brown money. So that's kind of what he's looking at. And I do think he's worth it. He's 26, I think. AJ Brown just got paid and he's 27. So he's in the prime of his career. And yeah, he's a very good receiver. And I think he would help out Drake May in New England or Russ in Pittsburgh. I mean, there's tons of rumors going around there. There's even rumors that Jordan Addison for Ayuk, 1-for-1, so he can stay in California where he's gotten in trouble twice. It makes no sense. And hey, you know what? If you're a professional athlete, congratulations, you deserve it. You're freaking amazing at what you do. Just call an Uber, stay off the road. That's all. Like, you can get your car the next day. It makes
the NFL has a program of a number any player can call and they'll send car service. You don't even need Uber. The NFL will do it for free, and guys still act like friggin' shitheads.
Like, and the thing is, it's because they've got very nice cars and they don't want to leave it sitting there. That, like, it's like, okay, yeah, you got an $80,000 car, $100,000 car. Yeah, that's a sweet car. But is your career the reason why you're able to afford it worth it? No, I think you can leave your car there for a night.
Bob.
Yeah, so Jordan Addison, I'm starting to think that maybe it wasn't a dog emergency the time he was going 140 miles an hour, and it was
maybe he just likes to drive fast. His nickname should be Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, so that was another story that just happened that me personally, I have people in Minnesota asking me like, hey, do you think anything will happen? No. Like, if he was KJ Osborne and he was still in the Vikings, he would probably get cut. But the fact that it's Jordan Addison, a first-round pick, super young, he might get a 2-game suspension by the NFL or get a little slap on the wrist.
In the time that Jordan Addison got 2 traffic violations, Tyreek Hill had 3 children. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Actually, I heard it was like 6.
No
twins.
Dude, last time I checked, when I was in CVS and I was in the personal care aisle, condoms are pretty inexpensive. Just saying. I'm just saying.
He's probably like, you know what, Antonio Cromartie, I miss him in the NFL. Let's get up to those numbers.
Tyreek Raw Dog Hill. That's his new nickname. All right, let's move on. Let's get into the AFC camp position battles. We are going to start in the AFC East, my home division, right down the street from me. I will be in that stadium, not for a Patriots game, but for a Metallica concert here in a couple of weeks. So I'm pretty pumped about that. We're going to start with the division champs. We're going to start with the Buffalo Bills. Now, we all know the Buffalo Bills traded away Stephon Diggs. They've brought in some receivers. They've got some existing guys that we like. I think the training camp battle that everyone is going to be watching is going to be at the receiver position. Is it not, Tyler?
100%. It's Keon Coleman. It's Curtis Samuel. It's Khalil Shakir. It's
Khalil Shakir. Let's go.
It's all
Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool. Like, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be him. Like, that's what's going to happen. He's finally like, okay, I need to get my head out of my ass or I'm out of the NFL. Claypool's an ultra athlete. So
he is. He's had an amazing rookie year and then just went.
Yeah. I mean, in the locker room said he was a top 3 receiver in the NFL, and now he's not even a top 3 receiver on his team. I'm really looking forward to this. I have oddly been on the Keon Coleman bandwagon just because, you know, he is fun to root for, but he has a George Pickens, T. Higgins type role to me. Like, that's okay. You may not think so, but I think he's a lot burstier and faster than what we all think.
Burstier, is it? Did you look that up in
Burstier.
the Urban Dictionary?
Yes, I
Burstier?
did. Burstier.
Nice. I'm
Thick.
hoping Halloween is a star burstier season.
I mean, as long as
I love a good starburst.
yes. I mean, have you had the unwrapped ones? Ooh, you don't even need to
No,
deal with the
but you know
wrapper.
what? It's midway through July and Halloween candy has been spotted
Yep.
already.
And apparently school
Crazy.
starts for Target in June. They already had
Oh, the
school
seasons are
start.
always you can buy bikinis and swimsuits in February. It's always the season ahead.
Makes sense. But
Yeah.
going back to the Bills, another one I'm looking forward to is the backup running back and seeing if Ray Davis is the guy that I think we all want him to be. I'm really liking his draft position. I took him at Scott Fishbowl super late. And in rookie drafts, I just feel like he's kind of getting forgotten unless you're Pete Davidson in UDPL when you take him at 213, the extra pick. But yeah, I think Ray Davis and definitely the receivers. I know a lot of people think Curtis Samuel could be the receiver that you want, but
Joe Brady connection.
The thing is like Keon Coleman, you either love him or you hate him. Like that's the thing. I think there's no in between with him. You are either on the boat or you're off the boat, and I'm on the boat.
I'm straddling the boat. I'm one of those guys. It's like I want to root for him because he's a FSU guy. I see the potential, but part of me is like, I'm like, ugh, is he going to be better than Gabe Davis? Like, I don't know.
Yes, I mean his hands are elite. His hands are elite. Like that's the thing with Coleman. Like if it's thrown in the vicinity, he's got very very strong hands.
We hope so.
When I was watching his tape, like he caught everything, and he's super young. Like that's the thing. Like he's 20 years old, and usually guys that have early breakout age that are still young going into the NFL usually have a greater chance to hit, and those guys are usually a better bet.
You know, I'm personally out of this whole situation because I have a lot of Khalil Shakir. I picked him up for free in multiple dynasty leagues last year. And I'm reaping the rewards now. Like his value has shot up. If I wanted to trade Shakir, I probably could have got like a late second for him, pretty easily in this environment. So I'm rooting for Khalil Shakir. I think that, you know, out of all the receivers, I think he's got the potential to kind of lead the receivers along with Kincaid because he's got that rapport with Allen. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife kid. He's a tough player. I've always thought he was very, very good. Some of the things that have came out, like I know he was a favorite of JJ Zacharyson when he was coming out. So I'm rooting for Shakir, and of course, I traded for James Cook from you in a league, so I'm rooting for Cook as well. But that is going to be interesting because I don't think Cook can handle 300 plus touches, and I don't think he's going to. So it is going to be interesting. You know, they didn't re-sign Latavius Murray. They still have Ty Johnson. They have Ray Davis. So there's not a huge depth behind him. But I do like, since Joe Brady took over, James Cook's usage was awesome. So that's what I want to carry over.
I think this could be a non-issue, and we could all just be talking for nothing because it's going to be Kincaid. They could just be running a Chiefs offense where it's like, hey, James Cook, you're gonna get a lot more passes. Kincaid, you're gonna be our number one target,
and everyone else is complimentary.
Coleman, you're going to be like a Rashee Rice style type player.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah. And and all these guys could just be hit or miss. You could have, a Kadarius Toney, Curtis Samuel type game. Like, yeah, it's going to be interesting because Joe Brady, we've all heard rumors like his offenses are kind of bland. They wear out, mid-season. So the Bills, it'll be an interesting team for sure.
Yep. Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins. I am personally intrigued by this backfield. It's not necessarily a camp battle. I think it's established that Raheem Mostert is the number one guy. He was last year. Nothing's changed, although his ADP in Dynasty he's cheap. If you're in a win now team, go get Raheem Mostert if you still believe in him. Devin Achane, I still don't believe in Devin Achane, but I have invested in Jalen Wright because Raheem Mostert is 32 years old. Devin Achane couldn't stay on the field. Jalen Wright, if something happens to Mostert, you can literally put Jalen Wright in that role, and I think he will be as effective as Raheem Mostert. So for me, to
more upside, yeah.
Right. So to get Jalen Wright in the mid-second, mostly, sometimes late second, or affordable in auctions, he was a player that I was targeting in that Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, what's the other running back that was mixed in with them? He was after Benson. I
Corum.
can't remember. Corum. Yeah. So out of those three guys, I was buying the dip on Jalen Wright. So and like Scott Fishbowl, we draft on Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's a player that I'm targeting late because he has league-winning upside. If Raheem Mostert suffers a season-ending injury or Achane can't stay on the field, like it's the only other running back on that roster that I know of any consequences. Salvin Ahmed is still there, and what Chris Brooks maybe. So for me, it's not necessarily a camp battle, but it's the potential of Jalen Wright. And on the other end with the wide receivers, I know Odell Beckham Jr. signed there, but I'm still investing in Malik Washington.
Or Taj. Like one of the Washingtons are going to hit, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Malik. I loved his college tape. Mike McDaniel really, really wanted Malik Washington. So maybe he has a quiet rookie year because of Odell, but maybe he doesn't. I know this is who's the underrated rookie receiver that could be the next Puka. So someone's like Malik Washington. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's nice to see guys like that mentioned in the same breath of a historic rookie wide receiver that came out of nowhere. So I have Washington. I got him a lot in the 5th round of drafts, and I'm super happy with him just on my taxi squad and see what happens. But I think he's going to come in and compete pretty hard, and maybe he has a role in year 1.
Yeah, until Jonnu Smith has like 3 catches each game for 60 yards. And
they just don't use the damn tight end in Miami.
And I agree. And I'm actually coming more around on Achane. And I know
Can't do it.
The price is high, but think of it this way. He had an 8 yards per carry. And people say, oh, that's unsustainable. But
it is.
We all said that with Jamal Charles. And I know it's an outlier, but they are very similar players. If Achane can stay healthy, you have a chance of having Jamal Charles. In this offense, in this scheme, you have a chance to have Jamal Charles. And I know the Footballers Dynasty podcast was talking about Achane and how high his ADP is and how dangerous of a player he is. But if he hits, he is every bit worth it for your team. And that's Dynasty. Like, if you don't want to take the risk, you don't have to. Like, that is your choice.
Exactly.
If you have Achane, you can trade him for a ton. Like, you can trade him for a Jonathan Brooks plus. And you know what? That could be the move. But also, you have the risk of trading an elite dynasty asset, somebody who could be running back 1, 2, or 3 within a year or two. And that is the risk with Achane. And I agree. Like, Jalen Wright is my most rostered rookie. We went through that. I'm right there with you with Jalen Wright. It's almost like it's right there in front of our eyes, and we just need to just do it. Like, because he was drafted early, and he's literally a Mostert clone.
Yeah, I know they traded up to get him. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but they traded a 3rd next year to get him in the 4th. So that's something I would do in Dynasty, right? Like, hey, I want to get a round up. Like,
exactly.
It's a perfect Dynasty fantasy football move. Well, yes, it is. Anything else for the Dolphins? I think that's pretty much covers the Fins. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the New York Jets. This is an interesting one because they have established stars. I'll call Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson both stars at positions. But after that, it's kind of muddy, right? Isn't it, Tyler? Like, who's the backup running back? Who's the wide receiver 2 for now is Mike Williams until he gets hurt in week 4.
Yeah.
Interesting to see what happens here.
I'd say the interesting part would because I think Breece is fine. He'll stay healthy. I'd say maybe the backup to Breece with Izzy Abakanda as a Bakanda, Braylon Allen, and the other guy that they got from, what was it, South Dakota?
Yeah, Isaiah Davis.
Yes, between those 3, and then wide receiver 3 for the team behind Mike Williams.
It's Corley.
Could it be Gibson, who has a rapport with Rodgers?
He's also getting some buzz thanks to the Scott Fishbowl because he's probably going to return kicks. Yep. But Gibson did flash a little bit last year with shit quarterback play.
Cobb loved him, and anything Cobb loves, Rodgers loves, and they get in a dark, dimly light room and talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah, Randall shows him his Cobb is what happens.
It's interesting, but yeah, Xavier Gibson would probably be the one I'm interested in this whole group. But other than that, like you said, it's very top heavy. It's filled with stars and it's filled with a lot of question marks.
I don't want to dismiss the tight end position here because I think Ty Conklin, if you have him on your roster, he hasn't been a fantasy star or anything like that. But with a healthy Rodgers, Conklin could have a nice season. But I'm still in on Jeremy Ruckert. He's still on some of my rosters, my deep rosters, because I liked him out of Ohio State. Shout out to Sal, who I'll see in Boston. This is nephew, Jeremy Ruckert, which is pretty awesome to
Something
see.
like
So
that, yeah.
I still have Ruckert in a lot of spots, hoping that I know tight ends take time, and maybe Conklin, maybe he gives him a run for his money, or Conklin gets hurt, and then there's no CG Uzama there anymore. So it's really Ruckert as the backup, I think. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. That's a name not a lot of people have mentioned, but I still think there's hope because we all know tight end. They can come out of nowhere in year 4 if the situation's right. And I think that's what we could be seeing with Ruckert here. So keep an eye on him in Jets training camp when that buzz starts to get buzzing. All right, let's move on to the last and certainly least, New England Patriots. This one really starts even at the quarterback position. Kendrick Bourne this week was quoted as saying Drake May QB1, which was kind of surprise. Kendrick Bourne re-signed with the Pats after his injury last year. The assumption is that Jacoby Brissett is going to start games there. They've been pretty impressed by Drake May. We all saw the clip on Hard Knocks with Drake May breaking down plays with Brian Daboll, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Ermagerd!" Yeah, I was too. He looked good. I think Drake May is going to do well. Brissett's probably going to start at the beginning of the year, but May's where it's at. Outside of that, though, it's pretty much outside of Ramondre, everything is up for grabs in this offense.
See, I'm looking at the backup running back position between Kevin Harris and rookie Terrell Jennings from Florida A&M. Big guy.
That's not a real school.
It is. It is. I mean, if you play NCAA 25, No, by the way, great game. For me, it's that backup running back because I think Gibson has his role. He's solidified in his role. Nobody's going to touch it. But it's the backup running back to Ramondre if Ramondre gets hurt. And it's Kevin Harris and Terrell Jennings. And then the wide receiver position that everybody wants to know. Like, who is it? Is it Baker?
Lots of receivers.
Yeah, is it Polk? And
is it Demario Douglas?
I think Douglas and Kendrick Bourne might be the two that we're kind of just forgetting about. Like, I know Polk
Juju Smith-Schuster. Does he make the team?
He doesn't have knees.
Probably not.
Supposedly
he's healthy. Supposedly he's healthy.
Well, I haven't seen him on TikTok because nobody goes on TikTok anymore.
You'd be surprised. I think it's a wide open target share field here.
Which I think is good. Like Baker Mayfield went into Cleveland his rookie year with hardly anything and made something out of it. Like he had a phenomenal rookie year. And I think Drake May is the type of player, like, he's going to need these players. And these players aren't, they're not talented. They have talent. I mean, Polk was an early second-round pick. So I think a lot of these players have talent and they will come out of the woodwork. And I do think that once May does play, because I do think he will, I think we're going to start seeing that talent rise, and I think the dynasty value will. And personally, I'm going to go for a cheaper option, and it's going to be Douglas for me for this receiving core because I still think he's going to be that slot guy.
He's good.
He's very good. Like, did you see how fast he's going uphill? Like, nobody should be able to run that fast uphill. I just walked uphill.
He's a jitterbug, man. He's like Kadarius Toney, but good.
That's the second time we brought Kadarius Toney. Like,
that'll be the last time, hopefully.
Yes.
I'd rather talk about Tony, the group from the 90s, than talk about Kadarius Toney.
The Tiger.
That's a good one too. I'd rather talk about Tony Romo. All right, I have one other name, tight end again. He was free in most of your rookie drafts, but he's starting to get a little buzz locally. Jaheim Bell out of Florida State. He was a 7th-round pick. But look at this depth chart. You have Hunter Henry, who just signed a long-term deal, who, if you're on a win-now team, go get Hunter Henry because he's dirt cheap. Alex Van Pelt is the OC. He loves to run the offense through the tight end. Hunter Henry is my pick of a guy that's between like tight end 16 and 21 that could finish as a tight end 1 this year. I just kind of feel it deep in my loins that Hunter Henry is going to have a great year. But Jaheim Bell, behind Hunter Henry is Austin Hooper. I think he's toast. And Jaheim Bell is a good athlete.
3rd year.
I know. I still remember that Falcons touchdown run that took 7 years. The Jason Witten commemorative touchdown run from Austin Hooper. I think he was in Cleveland. He was when he was with Atlanta.
It took
Anywho,
forever.
Jaheim Bell, he's versatile. He can line up in the backfield. He can play a little fullback if they need to. Could be a threat in the red zone. I just like him as a very cheap taxi stash. So that's a name to keep an eye out for too. If he made it through your rookie drafts, that's a guy I've been prioritizing as a UDFA here in leagues. All right, let's move on to the AFC West. All right, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a bit messy in Kansas City, is it not?
Yes and no. I think it's more solidified than we think. Like you got Kelsey, you got Mahomes, you got Pacheco. Like they got the running back, but like we're not thinking, oh, maybe Clyde Edwards. No, like that dream is crashed. It's Pacheco 100%. And then at wide receiver, you're thinking, oh, maybe it's super messy. I think when Rashee Rice comes back, I think it is him. I think Worthy takes over the Hollywood Brown role when Hollywood is either hurt or he's gone. I think they'll bring him in slowly. We're going to see a game or two where Worthy goes like for 150 and 2 off like 4 catches, and we're all going to lose our minds. His value is going to skyrocket, and we're going to see the future because I do think Worthy is going to be the next Deshaun Jackson. Like, yeah, that's kind of a call of mine. Like, I think he is the next Deshaun Jackson. He's got all the skills that we've seen. I think we're going to see Worthy on kick returns more often because I think they want to get that speed in there. But I think it's Kelsey. But the thing is, I think they drafted their future. Jared Wiley, I think, is the next.
I agree with you on that. Yep.
I think
and he's been getting rave reviews out of camp too, or mini camp, rookie camps.
And I mean, it's everything you read about Wiley is Travis Kelce. Like it is Travis Kelce in college. Super athlete, was a quarterback coming into his college. Switched to tight end, just started playing tight end, grown into his body and starting to learn the position and dominates after he leaves. And like the sky's the limit for Wiley. I think they got the future at receiver with Rashee Rice and Worthy. And at running back, like I think Pacheco's there for the next 2 to 3 years. They'll probably give him a small 2-3 year deal. That's
he's making no money now, so like
and
this is year 3 for Pacheco.
As long as he can beat the shit out of the grass with his feet, like he's happy as hell.
He is. I want him to come and like put spikes on, and then like what is that called? Not exfoliate. What do they call that when you aerate? You want him to aerate my yard.
Grass.
Just run around really angrily. He'd be like stabbing like animals like a foot below.
Yeah. Well, there's like 3 dead gophers in your yard now, but
that's fine.
Your yard looks gorgeous.
Yeah, but the Gophers are terrible anyway. They get into too many things.
That's
so
true.
Whatever, I'm here for it.
So yeah, I think the Chiefs actually, I think they have their roles. And I was kind of off Rashee Rice, which is rare for me because usually when the buying window's there, I go for it.
Yeah, you're usually peering in like over a bush.
The issue was I wasn't a big Rashee Rice person to start with.
Same.
But I'm starting to feel like he may not be a giant wide receiver one, but could he be Dwayne Bowe career? I think so. Like he could have a 14 touchdown season here, but
I think Dwayne Bowe had 17, didn't he?
Yes, he had that 1 year. But I do think him and Worthy are the future at receiver, and then, like I said, the tight end. I think they got so. Mahomes is in good shape. If you have a chance to get Mahomes, go for it. I mean, Doug, not like that much, but if you do have the opportunity to get Mahomes because he is maybe the cheapest he's been in his career, it's probably a good opportunity to do so because I do think with Worthy's speed, which is insane, like we have not seen speed like this and a receiver this good and talented in a very long time. So it will change things for sure. But yeah, I don't think there's too many battles we got to watch in this team. Like I think it's more fun. Like we get to see depth. There's a couple
backup running back might be a battle though.
There's a kid named Steele.
Lexington Steele?
No, he's a white boy. I forgot where he's from, like maybe Bowling Green. He's like
sounds about right.
He's a good pass catcher. And then they got another guy that I actually picked up in UPL before, and I was reading about him. He's 5'8", 208 pounds, Andy Reid special, great pass catcher, and has good contact balance. So he's a guy that I'm watching.
They got the rugby kid too.
Yes,
that I accidentally spent all my fab on.
100 fab. And you know what? Like I told you when it happened, I said, you know what? He's going to blow up,
It'll
isn't he?
probably work out.
Yeah.
I saw the waivers come through and I was like, oh shit, I spent all my fab on this dude. I meant to spend like $10. Devil's in the details when you add an extra zero.
Yeah.
Good times.
But hey, like I said, you never know.
Yeah. Let's move on to one of the more interesting teams in the AFC when it comes to depth chart, because we got a lot of question marks on the LA Chargers, do we not? Like, we know Justin Herbert's there. I'm not worried about him. But pass catchers, running backs, this might be the offense with the biggest amount of holes / question marks, because they signed Gus Edwards. It looks like he's going to be the starter. J.K. Dobbins is there. They draft Kamani Vidal. So that's all up in the air. And then for pass catchers, Keenan Allen's gone. Mike Williams is gone. Gerald Everett is gone. So they still have Quentin Johnson, who a lot of people dislike with good reason. Josh Palmer's back, who I think is their best receiver right now. They draft Ladd McConkey, and then they just got like a bunch of guys there. It's we don't know what Harbaugh is going to do with the offense. Are they going to be run heavy? Are they actually going to throw it a decent amount of times? Lots and lots of question marks on the Chargers.
You know what my question mark is? Buying Justin Herbert, because that's all you really need, because
he's cheap right now.
He is dirt cheap. I got him in Scott Fishbowl in the 3rd or 4th round, which is unheard of. Like, that should never happen. He is still a top quarterback. And I think what we forget is Harbaugh went to the Chargers because of Justin Herbert. That is why he went there. It wasn't because of the history of the Chargers and how much they've won in the playoffs. No, that's not it. It's because of
not
Justin
at all.
Herbert and how Harbaugh thinks he's the best quarterback in the NFL. And I do think this offense is going to be better than we think. Gus Edwards is going to get touchdowns. Vidal is one of the better pass blocking running backs in the class. He's going to be great at that. They drafted an offensive lineman who is a stud. And the wide receivers, for me, it's going to be a hodgepodge to start. It's going to be Palmer here. And I think that is what Herbert needs. He doesn't need to lock into one receiver. Herbert needs to be able to see the field better. And I think this will actually help him in his career. Herbert is going to, I think, be more consistent. And for my money, I mean, they got Will Disley. If you want
to, Colby Parkinson, no, or is he on the Rams? No, he's on the Chargers,
Rams.
Right?
He's Rams.
That's right. Who else did they sign? They signed Disley and
God, it was somebody that you don't care.
They still have Donald Parham.
So for me, everybody's like Ladd McConkey is going to be the guy. I think he's going to be fine, but it's going to be so spread out. I think even Quentin Johnson, whose value is dead, I think you can get him for a decent price, and you still might be able to get some playing time. Like, you might be able to throw him in as
he should play.
He should, and they've talked about how they're going to use him better. But it's just if you can learn how to catch, that's the issue.
Yeah. The backfield is going to be interesting. Dobbins coming off 2 major injuries.
Is the third. I hear Roman said Dobbins is going to be in line for the 3rd down role. So maybe it's a good thing that he doesn't get like crazy touches, because the less he touches the field, the less he has a leg injury.
I mean, I think he's got under like 250 carries in his career, probably.
Well, he's only played like 12 games.
That's what I'm saying. So, yeah. I mean, if anything, if you had Dobbins on your roster still, you're like, all right, he landed in a good spot to get work, and that's what matters.
He got paid
because he went from having zero value to having a little bit of value and some hope.
He's getting paid nothing right now, too. Like, I think he is one of the least paid running backs in the league. Like, it's crazy. Undrafted free agents.
And speaking of which, we didn't talk about it at the top of the show, but Cam Akers re-signed with the Vikings, and I've seen some training videos with Cam. He's looking pretty solid for a double Achilles.
All they have,
the same one, obviously.
All they have is Ty Chandler. So.
I do like what Dwayne McBride's not a big sleeper, Tyler. I was told Dwayne McBride was going to be a thing.
A big time name running back is going to go there next year in the 2nd round, and it's going to be all the hype.
Yeah, this is going to be it is a nice class next year, supposedly, if everyone declares and all that jazz. All right, let's move on to the Denver Broncos, another team in flux. Jerry Jeudy gone to Cleveland. He's gone. The running backs are There's been buzz with, Sigmund Blund, who's an insider with the Denver Broncos, is like, will Javonte Williams even make the team? I was like, whoa, is this another Leonard Fournette situation? Like, I remember Evan Silva saying that like Leonard Fournette might get cut as a surprise in Jacksonville, and then it happened. So you just never know with this kind of stuff. Javonte, obviously, his ADP has dipped a lot, and Jaleel McLaughlin is the steady drumbeat guy. They draft Audric Estime, Samaje Perine is still there. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he is the odd man out because he's still making a decent amount of money. Javonte's on his rookie deal. Talk to me about the Broncos. Greg Dulcich, like, is he going to be healthy? Like, lots of questions.
Like Bo Nix, Jared Stidham. I think that's the big, training camp battle we're watching. If Bo Nix doesn't win out, I think we should start worrying about Bo Nix.
It is a problem if he does it. I mean, he was the 12th pick in the draft. Like,
yeah. And he played the NCAA record most games, 60 in his NCAA career. So he has enough starts under his belt. So he doesn't need any fine tuning. So yeah, it's definitely the running backs. I still think Javonte has it. Yeah, he had a major injuries coming off.
He did look better at the end of the season.
Yep. And I just think it's a Sean Payton. Like, I think we've seen what Sean Payton is. He's got his dudes that he likes. And if you're not part of that group, I'm sorry, but
he likes McLaughlin.
Yeah, he likes McLaughlin. They had a rookie in like the 6th round or undrafted free agent. I forgot his name.
Blake Watson.
Yes. Yep.
That he's got some buzz too.
Yep. And at wide receiver, they've got a couple. They got an old, like Sig was talking about, he's a 26-year-old Vele from BYU.
Yeah.
He went on a mission. That's why he's old. But he's like, yeah, he dominated. He's a big guy. Yeah, when you're 26, you should be dominating 20-year-olds. Like, that's a given.
Ray Davis. We call that Ray Davis syndrome.
Yes, but Ray Davis he has excuses. I guess Vele does too. But
he went on a retreat.
For me, I mean, there's a lot of people on Troy Franklin. I'm still believing in Mims. I really like the player. I think
I like Mims too.
If they only use him as a returner, it sucks. But I think he deserves a lot more playing time than what Payton's giving him. I mean, Payton, he was your first draft pick.
Yeah, you'd think that would matter. But it'll be interesting to see how that training camp battle shakes out. And if Cortland Sutton remains on the team, there's been whispers about maybe him getting moved as well to like a Pittsburgh or another team that maybe has an open spot here in the offseason. All right, let's get to the last team in the AFC West. That is the Las Vegas Raiders. Davante Adams, the star of the show receiver. He's not the star, but I do like watching Davante Adams. I think he's a real humble dude. Seems really good. He's a competitor. With that injury that he had, that he played through, got an injection, came back in the game. We didn't necessarily have to.
How in the hell he played with that injury?
That's awesome. Yeah. So, we look at the Raiders offense and to this one, look, it's another quarterback room that we don't know what's going on in, another running back room where we assume Zamir White is going to be the guy. I have sold Zamir White this offseason for 2 seconds and a third because I'm
starting to doubt. It could be an Alexander Madison situation.
And they got Dylan Lobb, could be the third down back.
Love Dylan Lobb.
Yeah, so for me, Zamir White, we get trapped in this every year. There's an Alex Collins or one of these running backs that he takes over for someone. He looks great at the end of the season. He helps you win your league. And then everyone touts him the next year. And then he just goes to shit. And that's for me, it's always been guys like Alex Collins. This is another one I can't remember. This is just a couple of years ago. Yes. Just it happens almost every year where there's that running back that, I mean, Alexander Madison last year, right?
Yeah.
Look at it this way. His ADP was up into the 4th round in redraft.
Who would have bought him? What idiot would have bought Alexander Madison?
His dynasty ADP was up, and then he plays, and then he's just not good.
Hey, he's on the Raiders.
He's on the Raiders.
What if he takes Zamir White's job?
I mean, that would be hilarious. Yeah, I mean, and I sold him. So I just had my last rookie draft a couple weeks ago, and the guy's like, I need running back help. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. He's like, who are you interested in? He's like, Zamir White. He offered me a 2026 first, but I was like, I don't want to go that far out. I'm like, give me 25 seconds and a third, and I'll do it. So I did that deal for Zamir White, and I'm happy with that.
That's fair, yeah.
Who's going to be the quarterback here? Is it going to be Aiden O'Connell? Is it going to be Gardner Minshew?
Rumor has it it's O'Connell right now, but I'm not gonna put. I think we should go with the money. It'll probably be Minshew to start. Aiden O'Connell, I think he's a fine quarterback. He's a Ryan Fitzpatrick style quarterback. Kind of just throws
Yeah.
it all on the field. I think he'll be a journeyman, but he's not a good starter. And I mean, I don't know. Like if the defense is good, they could win games. If the defense is not good, this team is going to look
I
very
mean,
bad.
they have the offensive pass catchers. So they've got Brock Bowers, who they spent the first on. They have Michael Mayer, who was a second round pick last year that we both really like.
Dum,
They've got
dum, dum, dum.
Devontae. They've got Jacoby Myers. Who else? Didn't they sign somebody? Why am I forgetting someone?
I don't know. I mean, are really interested other than
Oh, they got Trey Tucker, who I like, who's
yeah,
flashed.
last year's rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the running back group, and Dylan Lobb is the one I've been actually trying to purchase for a good price because
You're
I think
hoping that lob is a slam dunk.
because for me, just analytically and everything that he gives to this team, he brings a Austin Eckler style. Like they were interested in Eckler. They were one of the teams that wanted to sign Eckler,
Mm-hmm.
and instead they didn't get him, so they drafted Dylan Lobb pretty early for what we were thinking he would be.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to slide into that pass catching role. He's got one of the better hands in this class, so we
Caught a
could see
ton of
him.
passes at UNH.
Yeah, we could see him pretty early, and he's very athletic, and he looks like he's 35 years old.
He's close to it, actually. So
He's only 24. Okay,
New Hampshire ages you, man. I'm telling you, that's where I grew up. That's where all this gray hair came from.
It's the sea,
It's true.
ocean, sea,
Yes.
same thing.
There's about 25 miles of seacoast in New Hampshire, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the NFC North. All right. We are talking Baltimore. Tyler, give me your thoughts on Baltimore. I think their offense is going to be better, but how much better is it going to be?
It's going to be very run centric. Last year we
Rasheen
saw
Ali, anyone?
Yeah, I think behind Derrick Henry, that is what we're looking at. Keith Mitchell is already placed on IR
Hasn't he got shredded,
for
man?
the pup. So he's on the pup right away. Rasheen Ali has very good metrics and can slide in as a backup. For me, I am trusting in the growth of Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is going to have a breakout. Like a breakout. We're talking
Like 90 catches.
Yeah, we're talking like probably top. I'd say top 16 wide receiver
Okay, that's
in
fair.
scoring and fantasy. That'd probably be breakout. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at also the other receivers. Bateman got paid. We've got Demarcus Robinson is on the Rams.
He's in the Rams, yeah.
But we're looking at like Bateman. We're looking at a Tez Walker, and
yeah, who's going to be the wide receiver 3 there is the big question.
Nelson Aguilar probably in the slot.
Yeah, you're probably right. He's reliable.
But what if they run 2 tight ends more after seeing what Isaiah Likely did when Andrews was hurt?
He's good. Yeah.
He's very good. Like they've got 2, they got
He's
like
starter
a Gronk,
level.
Yeah, they got like a Gronk Hernandez style duo where they could really go on the field and dominate.
Mix it up a lot now.
Yeah, like they could have Zay Bateman, 2 tight ends, and Derrick Henry in the backfield where it's not going to matter because they're just going to hand it off or run Lamar.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting offense. It's the second year with Todd Monken. And for me, I think Zay Flowers is going to be the beneficiary of this second year and growing with Lamar. I mean, they're already training together. They're good friends already. So
yeah, and Zay, had to overcome some adversity in the postseason. He had that awful game where he fumbled at the goal line and then made another error. So I think he's going to learn from that.
Game too.
He was dominating that game. I could see Zay Flowers being that breakout where he goes for like 90, 1,200 and
12 or so. Because he's going to get some rushing work too. He could get like 3 rushing touchdowns.
It's true. So yeah, for Baltimore, I think it's pretty clear cut, but I'm interested to see what happens at the receiver position. If Tez Walker can infiltrate, the wide receiver 3 or 4 role, because I didn't like him all that much.
He could be Torrey Smith. Like if we're gonna go back in time, the Baltimore greatness, Torrey Smith.
That's true. All right, let's move on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati, as Bill Belichick would say, with his 24-year-old girlfriend. Bill. Wide receiver 3. Is it going to be Andrea Aishavash?
No.
Or is it going to be Jermaine Burton? I think it's going to be Aishavash.
No, it's Burton. I mean,
so?
I was just reading an article about how Burton, instead of doing Burton things, because we all hear he's
I love
kind
his
of
snowboards. They're so good.
He's kind of a knucklehead off the field. I heard he's sticking with TJ Houshmandzadeh to learn how to be a really good slot receiver. And
he announced his draft pick at the draft, and he said he was training with him. So yeah, I mean, Houshmandzadeh is a good mentor.
Yeah, very good. So I think it's Burton. I think Burton is going to be one of those guys where we're going to be very happy we got him in the late second, early third rookie drafts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably right now. I'd probably take him in the mid second, maybe even earlier.
I mean, when you project out the fact that T. Higgins will be gone, right?
Yeah.
Like Burton can play on the outside.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would love to see Aishavash take over for Higgins because I think that athletically,
that's the plan. Yeah,
they're pretty close athletically, to be honest.
That was a plan. If Higgins left, I think Aishavash would have probably slotted in, but I think Burton is solidified in the slot. That's going to be his spot. So that is the battle I'm looking for. What, you're not interested in Chase Brown and Zach Moss?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear cut. Zach Moss is going to be the 2-down guy, and Chase they're going to mix him in because Chase is that lightning. It's a thunder and lightning situation. It's pretty clear cut to me. Travion Williams is still on the roster. Yawn, no one cares. So for me, it's Moss is going to be the pounder. Chase is going to be the big play guy, and he'll get.
Yeah.
I think Chase Brown touches the ball 10 to 12 times a game. Moss gets it 15, maybe a little bit more depending on the game script.
I could see them doing like the Zeke Pollard route when they're both in Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
That's a perfect combination.
Or like when the Chargers had Melvin Gordon and Eckler. They had them two at the same time, right? Yeah. So like the Gordon, Eckler, like stuff like that. Chase Brown could easily catch 50 balls, get like 100 and something rushes, and I'd be totally happy with that. Because I think Chase Brown is very good at football. So, and then if Moss goes down with an injury, there's no one to push Chase Brown.
I don't think they trust him enough.
He carried the ball a ton at Illinois.
Yeah.
A ton. He was getting 20 plus touches a game and held up really well. So for me, it's like, who else are they going to be the guys that sign running back off the street? Possibly. Yeah. But yeah, I like Chase Brown's upside.
I could see, I want to see Eric All and how he progresses through training camp and all that after his ACL injury in October. I want to see if he can come in and beat out, who is it, Gesicki?
Also, McLaughlin's on that roster. A lot of people like. Yeah, it is Gesicki. Yawn. He's trash.
Yeah. I don't matter. If he does another gritty, I'm turning.
I mean, he did one after he did in Miami, and it was better, but it was still bad.
But yeah, Bengals definitely have some interesting pieces that we should keep an eye out, and yeah, Burton, I think, is going to be one of those guys, especially in preseason, that we're going to see him be like, oh my God, it's happening. And is going to be like to the moon.
I've got one for you. I was actually able to pick up Jake Browning in a league, and I couldn't believe someone dropped him in a Superflex league. I think Jake Browning's actually pretty good.
We'll see. He could be just a backup. That's
okay. Level. In a super flex league, maybe he gets a chance. Like if he becomes a free agent, maybe he gets a shot somewhere. I think he's or Burrow goes down with an injury again. If you own Joe Burrow, you absolutely have to have Jake 100%. Browning on your team.
Kind of like how
absolutely.
Like if you have Anthony Richardson, we'll get to him later. You need Joe Flacco.
Like if you've got an injury risk at quarterback, go get those backups because Flacco proved it. He had a great season last year, and so did Browning. Browning was like a fringe QB1 some weeks.
Yep.
For the Bengals. So those are absolutely must-haves.
He threw slants and quick route options to Jamar Chase like 18 times a game.
That's
Browning's.
all you have to do.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Cleveland. I don't know if you saw Nick Chubb this week squatting.
Unreal.
I don't know. 1,000 pounds. I don't even know what it was.
It was 500 plus.
Yeah, because the bar didn't weigh much because it was one of those weird flexi bars. But
It
500.
was? I just thought it was bending.
It's like Popeye. I
Yeah.
can't even squat that, and I have 2 healthy ACLs. I'm just not a squatter, to be honest. Only squatty potties is the only action I get for squatting. But to see that, you know, I co-manage a league with my buddy Damon. Shout out to Damon. And we acquired Nick Chubb for
A third.
Ty Chandler. It was like Ty Chandler, I think. And he's like a $14 contract. I'm like, you know what? I'll take a flyer on Nick Chubb. Because you know what? It's hard to bet against Nick freaking Chubb.
Yeah, there's only been so many players coming back from major injuries. One has been Adrian Peterson. And they've got to be freaks, like the crazy athletes that you think are cyborgs. Nick Chubb
And that's
is
Nick
that.
Chubb.
Yes. So,
yeah.
for everybody
insane.
that took a risk on Nick Chubb, I had an opportunity to in UDPL on a trade, and I decided against it, and I decided to get like a third or something like that, which was fine. But
yeah,
I'm kind of regretting it because in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why in the world would I doubt Nick Chubb?
There's no way a doctor would clear him to do that kind of activity unless he was in really good physical shape coming off a torn up knee.
They've said that the doctor has been very surprised at what he can do this quickly after an injury.
Yeah.
But I mean, the doctor gave him the okay to do so. So the fact that he's like, I'm shocked he's doing this, but I had to give him the okay because his knee was healing. Like,
yeah,
it's these things should not coincide, but it may help that he had a gruesome injury as well in college. So he kind of knows the process, what he's got to do to get back healthy, which he did extremely well. The reason why the Patriots passed on Nick Chubb and went with Sony Michel instead.
That's Super Bowl champion Sony Michel, by the way, the only man to score a touchdown in that Super Bowl.
That's true, but I do think that the buying window for Chubb is probably over. You're probably not wanting to pay the second rounder that you're probably going to have to give up.
No, you probably
unless
aren't
you're
wanting
a contender
to pay that.
and you're like, it's 212. Screw it. Let's take the chance. Because if so, and Nick Chubb is healthy and he comes in the season, the
Browns offense is projected to be pretty good again. I mean, Amari Cooper's holding out a little bit right now, so he wants some more money. They traded for Jerry Jeudy. They still have Elijah Moore there. It might be the last gasp of David Bell and Cedric Tillman. We'll see. And then the backfield, it's Nick Chubb, it's Jerome Ford, it's Pierre Strong. I mean, they've got some guys there that are capable. So
Foreman, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did. Did they? Yeah, they did sign Donta Foreman. Yeah. That's like Nick Chubb insurance, pretty much.
Yeah, and for me, the training camp battle I'm looking for is the receiver behind Jerry Jeudy. I want to see Elijah Moore.
Who's that third guy?
Like Elijah Moore, is it Tillman who had some run late in the season? Elijah Moore. Yep. I'm done. Like, it's over. The hype.
He had that great 4-game flash with the Jets where he looked awesome.
Get it?
I don't get it. I don't get it either.
You had DK Metcalf and AJ Brown say, "This is the dude. This is the guy that's better than all of us." And what happened? Like, seriously, what happened?
What the hell happened?
It is one of the greatest mysteries in the world. We have no idea what happened. Nope. Unsolved Mysteries is still looking into it. Might make an episode about it. We just don't know what happened to Elijah Moore.
Yeah, it is interesting because he looked so dominant in that stretch with the Jets with crappy quarterback play, and we're like, man, Elijah Moore is legit. And then the next year he does nothing. Then he gets traded, does nothing.
He's at like 50%, like 50% success on catchable passes. Like his hands might not be as good.
Are we banking on Deshaun Watson being back?
I don't think we should expect him to be back to Houston, Deshaun Watson, but at his
he's
price,
just going to be a solid QB2, right?
Yes, and at his price, I think that's what you're getting, and that's fine. Like he has an opportunity to be maybe a high-end quarterback 2, a low-end quarterback 1 again, but I think the days of the top 5, top 6, top 7, like it's over. But the fact that his price is so low right now because people with the thing that happened and him having poor play. He's on the team for a while. Yeah, he's on the team for a while. So, I think he's worth the value. And Jameis, once again, another quarterback you need to go get if you have Deshaun Watson.
Dude, Jameis could ball out in this offense.
Yeah.
So,
I
which
mean,
I would love to see.
it's gonna be funny seeing like Watts in the huddle, and then the players being like, "Okay, it's Deshaun Watson." Then Jameis get in the huddle, and players are like, "Oh, this is fun," but he threw a pick.
That's the Jameis Winston experience, as they say.
Yes.
All right. Last but not least, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have questions at quarterback and they have questions at wide receiver. I think the running back room is the easiest in the league. It's
Yeah.
Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. There's no battles there. Maybe to be whoever the third guy is. But
I think receivers too.
There's been a steady drumbeat for Calvin Austin coming out of Pittsburgh.
I'm George Pickens and bust. Like Roman Wilson for the future.
I do like Roman Wilson.
I think George Pickens though is I think we're talking about right in the wall for Jalen Wright, like it just being right in front of us. George Pickens
Has a breakout too.
I think the writing's on the wall. Like it's right there for us. And with Russ and how he hyper targeted Cortland Sutton near the end zone, I mean,
they're very similar players.
I mean, George Pickens is like Cortland Sutton times 100.
Mm-hmm.
So I think George Pickens had a great season. He was very inconsistent. If he can be more consistent with his targets, that is where we're going to see him dominate. And I think George Pickens, with how young he is, he's only 23 still. He to the moon. Like I've tried to buy George Pickens everywhere, and when I've gotten him, it's been great. I paid money in bar tab. I paid first round picks. I've tried to pay like rookies coming in. I got him and Devonta Smith like neck and neck. If I were to do rankings, they are like right there.
Yeah, I mean those vacated targets with Deontay Johnson is huge, and I think Roman Wilson is a plug and play starter right away
in the slot easily. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be who else is going to step up? Does Pittsburgh trade for one of these guys, a Cortland Sutton, a Brandon Ayuk, or somebody? Because I think there's a hole there that they want to fill. Because I think their defense is good, their offense is better than it was. I mean, anything's better than Kenny fucking Pickett and Mason Rudolph. Let's be honest. And Russ actually wasn't that bad last year, so it makes sense for them to go after somebody. But if they don't, Calvin Austin's there.
Would you buy Justin Fields?
Man, I mean, no one in the NFL was buying Justin Fields, so that scares me.
That's the worry. But if he's going to work,
because no one wanted to pay anything for Justin Fields.
Yeah, but if he's going to work, it's Pittsburgh.
I would give up a 3rd round pick for Justin Fields, and that's it.
And the thing is it probably want to get it done. I'd have to say
you'd have to give up a second. To me, that's rich.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think there's teams out there that are like, oh, we could have traded nothing and got this guy. Why would you pay him in free agency next year?
Yeah.
Unless he shows something to Pittsburgh and Russ is just there for the year and then Justin takes over.
Yeah, I mean, there's been,
the outcomes are scary.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting.
Are you buying Pat Freiermuth?
I don't know.
He's a tough one.
Yes.
I like the talent, but
I mean, as a Falcons fan, I PTSD about Kyle Pitts and all the tight ends. So like, if I'm gonna buy tight end, it's Dwayne Washington. So get the backup.
Ew.
No, I think Freiermuth is a fine. Like he could be the number 2 target. He could easily be but in an Arthur Smith offense, that could mean nothing.
Yeah. So I'm kind of scared off on Freiermuth. I like the talent, but I don't like the situation. Plus, he's got that history with concussions that always kind of irks me a little bit too. I hate guys that have had like 5-6 concussions because, there's always that chance. I mean, guys like Brandon Cooks have been successful after that string of concussions that he had, but that's not always the case. So I'm skeptical on Mr. Freiermuth. All right, let's move on. Last and certainly least in the AFC is the AFC South. Houston Texans, everybody's favorite AFC team nowadays, it seems like. We all know CJ Stroud is the dude, although I think his ADP is
ridiculous.
Stupid high for a guy that doesn't run. I'm like, nah, dog, I'm out at that. Backfield, Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce. There's no real battle there. Jawar Jordan's a rookie. Cool. Maybe if he gets some camp buzz, he's free in most of your rookie leagues. Tight end is pretty much sewn up.
Yeah, Stover's the future with Dalton Schultz kind of guiding him.
Hopefully Brevin Jordan signs somewhere just so I can tout him again. That would be nice. I love Brevin Jordan. awesome touchdown in the playoffs for them.
The battles, the receivers. And I think Nico Collins has solidified himself as the 1A or B.
You got paid.
I'm holding with Tank Dell.
Okay.
I think.
Do you think Stephon Diggs could be the third best receiver in fantasy this year on that team? I think so.
Oh, on the team, yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, CJ Stroud and Tank have a connection that we all saw. Like CJ Stroud legit was like, "Hey, my all-time list, Tank Dell's in the slot. Like that's my dude."
He told the Texans to draft Tank Dell. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So like he loves Tank Dell. As long as Tank's healthy, Tank is gonna be a wide receiver too. And so for me,
I agree with that.
I think Diggs is more just like it's better for the NFL team. Diggs gives that scarcity for like, hey, we got to watch out for Diggs. He's right over here. They got Nico Collins. I think it opens up Tank to the third corner of the slot corner.
I think they can be more creative.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, guys like Xavier McKinney, John Mechie.
See ya.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Unless Diggs is just there for a year and then, maybe Mechie keeps progressing after his illness and stuff like that. We'll see.
They re-signed Noah Brown too, didn't they?
I think maybe Noah Brown, who flashed in fantasy surprisingly, but he is just an awesome blocker. And they'll bring him in for 4 wide receiver packages, but yeah, don't expect any fantasy goodness out of Noah Brown this year. That was nice while it lasted. Shout out to Riley Bymaster, the OG Noah Brown lover. Yeah, my bastard child, Riley. And I was thinking as we were talking of random Houston Texans, how about CJ Fedorowicz?
Oh yeah,
used to call him Fedora Farts for short.
That was his name. I've not heard it.
His nickname.
That was his nickname given.
Fedora Farts.
Fedora.
Let's move on to Indy. I got questions about who's their starting tight end and who's the backup for Jonathan Taylor.
That is a very good question. I'd have to say their backup to Jonathan Taylor is Evan Hall. I would probably
Trey Sermon. There's been Trey Sermon touters out there.
I didn't like him coming out. I won't
He's been
like
on
him
4
now.
different teams now.
Yeah. So for me, the interesting one is, like you said, I think Mallory, the second-year guy out of Miami.
Like Will Mallory. Mm-hmm.
Is probably the guy to look out for. They still got
they got Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, Jelani Woods has been getting a lot of buzz because he was hurt last year. He's an absolute monster on the field.
Yeah. But the receiver part is interesting to me. And is it even going to matter outside of Michael Pittman? That's the real question. Josh Downs is being slept on. A.D. Mitchell has gotten some buzz, but he's falling a little bit because
he is. Yeah, well, because he fell in the draft.
And they fear that Anthony Richardson ain't going to pass him much. But if we do know one thing Anthony Richardson likes to do, he likes to throw it deep. So I think for me personally, Downs is going to be the slot guy, a T.Y. Hilton light. A.D. Mitchell's going to be kind of that 3-route style DK Metcalf early year kind of.
Dante Moncrief.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I mean,
just kidding.
Hey, how dare you? God, every time I try to forget him, just bring me right back.
I'll never let you forget.
And Pittman, if people want to think he's a wide receiver 1, he's not. He's right on the fringe. He's not a total package receiver.
He's just a safe floor, reliable player that's going to catch 100 balls for 1,100 yards, and you hope he gets 10 touchdowns.
Yeah. So
unless they use him like they used him in his rookie year, because his usage last year was
yeah.
I don't think they've used him correctly.
For me, I do think that if I'm going to go out and look at players on this team for camp battles, it's A.D. Mitchell and it's Josh Downs, and I'm buying both. I wasn't the big A.D. Mitchell player, but I've seen him in practice. He moves different for a guy his size.
As long as he can move and not be like Alex Pierce, who ran like 90% 9 routes downfield all year last year. He was the wind sprint champion. Alex Pierce.
600 and something routes and did nothing. So yeah, wind sprints for sure. It's going to be an odd offense with Richardson. We only saw so many games, but Richardson could destroy fantasy football. Like he has the opportunity to do different things. Like he could be just an outlier in scoring.
I'm here to welcome Jonathan Taylor back into the top 3 running backs at the end of the season.
I could see that. Like, he's paid. He's only 25. We got
the line gets better.
Yeah, and he's one of those Nick Chubb style ultra athletes that we're like, hey, you know, these guys last.
I mean, he never missed a practice until like last year.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago, or whatever it was. So the guy doesn't have an injury history.
He never played a game with Richardson, so we're looking at a Jonathan Taylor, Richardson, like kind of like
that could be
Lamar.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, like this team, they got a great head coach. Like, he's one of the better young minds in offensive mind for a head coach. That's why I am buying this offense. If I have the opportunity to buy anything in this offense, I'm going to. I traded for Richardson in UDPL. I gave up Daniels plus, and I thought that was 100% worth it because I want pieces of this offense.
Yep, I agree with that. Let's move on to Jacksonville. Freshly paid quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He got paid. Mac Jones is his backup. Cool. Mac Jones is finally free and having fun, so that's interesting. This one is interesting. Tight end is locked up. It's Evan Ingram. There's no one else on the depth chart. Brenton Strange. No thanks. It's Evan Ingram. That's it there. At wide receiver, though, I'm still buying Christian Kirk. As far as depth chart goes, it's Gabe Davis, it's Christian Kirk, it's Brian Thomas, and then a bunch of Tim Jones or whoever else. Devin Duvernay, I think, is on the Jaguars now.
Isn't Parker Washington?
Oh, yeah, Parker Washington. He's there. So to me, I think Kirk has had a dip.
Davis.
You traded me just because I was like, well, I don't have a share of Gabe Davis. Like, what the hell? It was a decent deal. Whatever. I'll probably regret it. But I'm still going after Christian Kirk because I think he's the number one guy when it's all said and done. If Christian Kirk is healthy, he's going to get the most targets. I think he's the most versatile of the bunch. And him and Trevor Lawrence have a really good rapport. For me, it comes down to Travis Etienne is kind of a fascinating player because he finished so piss poor last season.
Yeah.
He was so bad in the last month of the season. Everyone thought Tank Bigsby was going to take carries. He never did. Tank cost them games early in the season and then really didn't see the field again. Who else is there now? Is it still Dearness Johnson?
They got a kid from Texas, of course. They got a rookie running back in the 6th round that is more of a scat back style. He's close to 200 pounds, 5'9" or so. Robinson, I think his last name is. He's somebody to look at that could be a pass catching back. But yeah, for me, it's definitely at receiver. They could be a team that just decides, hey, we're going to start throwing a little more and stop depending so much on this running game because it's inconsistent. The offensive line isn't the best. And they just paid their quarterback a ton of money. And you know what you should do with that quarterback? And the reason why he was an all-pro, run him a little more because he's a lot better athlete than we all think. He was busting off like 60-yard runs in Clemson. So I think Trevor Lawrence, if he's going to have a year, it's now. He's got Gabe Davis, who, yes, we all make fun of, but he has a skill set that fits with Trevor Lawrence and how good he is with the deep ball. Brian Thomas Jr. is a phenomenal athlete and could be this team's one. Christian Kirk, I do agree, will be the one for the first 4 games, but I do think Brian Thomas kind of grows into the role more.
We'll see. I think Kirk is going to lock that down for the season.
Yeah.
If I have Christian Kirk as my wide receiver 3 in a league, I'm pretty dang happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest.
But honestly, right now, I think Brian Thomas is a player that you should start looking at now and sending offers. And if you're not able to get him, keep throwing offers out throughout the season because he will get a little cheaper and people will start doubting a little more because he did have a little bit of a profile where we're like, okay, if he hits, it's monstrous, but if he doesn't hit, it could be bad. And so
it could be Quentin Johnson-esque, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, not that bad, but Brian Thomas, I think, has major upside, and I might have to start looking to see if I can throw some deals.
There you go. Start knocking on some doors. All right, let's move to the last team here in the AFC South. That is the Tennessee Titans.
No, thank you.
Really? I actually think the Titans are very intriguing because all the pieces in that offense don't cost a lot. Like Tony Pollard is cheap right now. Tajay Spears was expensive before they signed Tony Pollard. Yeah. Now his price has gone down. Will Levis is still cheap if you believe in Will Levis. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously an aging veteran. Calvin Ridley, another older veteran.
Treylon Burks, who might help out on the kick coverage team.
He's a throw-in. To me, you got to go get
Chig, yeah.
Chig, or even Josh Wiley. I mean, you know how I love tight ends.
They got a Wiley over there.
But yeah, Chigakonkwo to me is still a screaming value in that offense. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed and whatnot.
Screaming down the sideline for the ball.
Yeah, who else did Tennessee? Who else did they have at receiver? I know Kyle Phillips is there. Woo. I feel they had another like memorable guy. Robert Woods.
Westbrook-Akeen.
Nick Westbrook-Akine. Yeah. I'm like, D.D. Westbrook, is he still in the league?
You guys know that I really hope that Will Levis is going to be good. But Kyle Bargnoni from the Footballers posted a video of Will Levis and his season and the ups and downs. And it was not as good as you would probably think. Like, you're like, oh,
that line was bad, though.
Yes, it was.
That line was bad.
So that is the upside. If they can give him time,
and he can scramble more.
Yes, and Will Levis, if he has time, has the arm, and he has these receivers that can get open, that is the hopium that we are all eating up right now. So if that happens, it could happen, but Will Levis sometimes just, I don't know if it's from eating mayo and coffee or banana peels, but he just forgets how to play football sometimes because he makes some very bad choices. But I mean, what am I to say? I'm just a guy on a couch telling people that they're not making good football decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think Will Levis, they'll give him this year, and if he pans out, cool. If he doesn't, they'll just move on next year. They'll draft a quarterback.
Oh, if he pans out, it's a gold mine. Like, you are hitting gold. If he doesn't pan out, I mean, you're giving up a second-round pick, probably early second.
Yeah, I mean, no big deal. But yeah, Will Levis, I see the raw talent that Will Levis has, and they're obviously invested in surrounding him with offensive talent. They bring in Pollard, they bring in Ridley on a big deal, stolen away from the Patriots, which I was fine with. I didn't want Ridley at that money in New England. No. So, they're trying to do it right and surround a young quarterback with pieces, which is what they should do, unlike some other teams that don't do that, like the Patriots, who kind of left Mac Jones out to dry. But whatever. So Will Levis, to me, could be one of those guys that if he hits, he could be a great QB2 in fantasy. And his price is still pretty affordable. He's what, probably quarterback like 24 or 25 in Dynasty.
Yeah. You're probably looking at him in the range of like him or Michael Penix. Do you want to take the risk of Michael Penix for a year or two sitting on your bench, or do you want to take Will Levis could be a star Will Levis could be a star in the league by 2026, or could be out of the league in 2025, 2026. And Penix could be a star by 2025, 2026 or 2027. So it's like, that is kind of the, what would you pick?
I'm gonna predict the future right now, just because I can see it in my mind's eye. In the future, Will Levis will be a starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. He seems like a Raiders quarterback.
He's a Raider. He's a Raider. Yeah,
I can see it in my mind's eye. Will Levis being just gunning it all over the place for the Raiders.
He's gonna have an up and down year. Tennessee's gonna decide that they're gonna go a different route, and then 2025. Will Levis will get traded to the Raiders, and the Raiders will be like, all right, we got our guy.
All right, we got the rocker guy. Can throw it deep to Trey Tucker all the time. Who's the backup in? I know Malik Willis is there. Ryan Tannehill is a free agent still.
Yeah, I think
they signed a veteran guy there.
That's a good question.
That is a great question. Yeah, I'm not sure either. So I feel like someone notable is there, but I just can't remember who the hell it is.
It's just Will Levis.
No. It's just him in the quarterback room all by himself. All right, if I get hurt, then Tajay Spears is our new quarterback.
Yeah, might as well, right? I mean, Malik Willis can't throw a ball.
Oh, rough. That whole quarterback class.
101.
That's an epically bad quarterback class.
Yeah.
But anywho, Desmond Ritter's on a new team. Sam Howell's on a new team. I
think Howell's got talent. Ritter,
I do too.
No, thank you.
I like Howell as a sneaky buy. Could take over in Seattle if Geno goes tits up in that offense.
Yeah. I
At least
agree.
Howell's fun to watch. But
But
anywho,
we'll talk about that
we'll
next
save
week.
that for next week. Yes, yes. So thank you for joining us on our AFC training camp battles. It's good to be back on the microphone. It's good to have the audience back. So make sure you're tuning in every week from here on out to Tyler and I as we chop it up about, division stuff, player news, training camp buzz. We're going to bring some fun episodes back into the fold as well. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. Make sure if you're on iTunes, give us a review, drop a like. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. Like and subscribe. We always appreciate more live viewers on Facebook as well. So if you're watching us there, thank you. It's good to be back. It's good to have you guys back. And we'll see you next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour.